How does protein affect our fat loss? Significantly. Let's talk about the 3 ways in which protein affects fat loss. The first is from a muscle metabolism standpoint. The second is behavioral. And the third is hormonal. So let's talk about muscle metabolism. And one of the main drivers for how many calories your body burns at rest has to do with how much muscle you're carrying. And we know that protein plays a vital role in helping your muscles to repair and rebuild from workouts. Without an intervention like resistance training, you are going to lose muscle. And the statistic is somewhere around 5 to 10% muscle will be lost almost every decade after the age of 30. From that vantage point, it's really important that we're maintaining our muscle as much as we can, especially as we age. And we could get into all the functional reasons for that, but I'm going to stick to this topic of just fat loss. Muscle might account for somewhere between 20 and 25% of our metabolism. So it's not a huge amount, but it's not that little either. Now, if we're losing muscle from decade to decade, then that means that our metabolic rate is dropping. So when people typically say, nothing's changed in the past 10 years. I'm eating exactly the same as I did before and exactly the same as 10 years before that, but my weight keeps going up. Then typically the reason is muscle loss. Because they are losing muscle, their body's not burning as many calories at rest. And for that reason, they wind up storing those additional calories as fat. Now, as it pertains to your muscle metabolism, the recommendation is that you should be taking in at least 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Let's just do the simple math here. If you take your body weight, you divide it by 2.2, that gives you your weight in kilograms. You multiply that by 1.6, and that gives you approximately how much protein you should be consuming in order to maintain and even build muscle mass if you are doing resistance training. When we do the calculations, probably especially for many of you ladies, it's not going to come out to a significant amount of protein, yet at the same time, it's probably more than you're already consuming. So I think it's hypercritical that you get that number and understand what it is. The question becomes, though, do we actually need more than that? The answer to that question is maybe. And here's the reason why. If we are consuming a greater number of our calories from carbohydrates, it's probably going to stimulate our hunger. If we're eating an overabundance of our calories from fat, we know that's extra fat that's being stored. And this is not a eating fat is a bad thing conversation. I'm going to talk about that one tomorrow. But the conversation is there does come a point where over consuming too much fat, fat is tasty, so it also leads to us eating more. That's going to put us in a bad position as well. But the thing with protein is this. Protein, now this becomes the behavioral part. Protein satiates us much better than carbohydrates and fat. Just think about it. If you were to open up a bag of chips, you can't eat just one, can you? Same thing with a bag of cookies. And if we're eating fatty foods, well, those tend to be very tasty. And so we eat more of those as well. But protein's a lot different. If I was to give you the same volume of protein in the form of, say, chicken breast as I did in the form of cookies, well, as I said, when you eat that amount of cookies, chances are you're going to be stimulated to want to eat more. But if you eat that same load in terms of protein, chances are you're going to eat it and say, I'm good. So one of the benefits of eating a high protein diet is that it's more satiating. It doesn't stimulate your appetite and doesn't result in you wanting to eat more food. So from a behavioral standpoint, if there's one way to quickly and easily get yourself to stop overeating, it's to consume a greater amount of your calories from protein. The third and the final, the hormonal component of how protein affects our fat loss. Eating a protein-rich diet, it actually helps to lower our blood glucose because it releases a hormone called glucagon. And glucagon counteracts insulin. So if insulin is known as the fat storage hormone, glucagon is known as the fat burning hormone. And we like fat burning hormones around here.